Hello everyone, Wyatt Tomlin back today with another video. Hopefully the noise pollution in the background is reduced because I made some minor changes with my microphone here. So we're just going to jump right in it and we're going to start it right up. In case you haven't known already, which you should have by now, because it's been all over the news, it's been all over the broadcast systems and everything, Kamala Harris is going to be the Democratic nominee, most likely. Joe Biden has stepped down as he is not going to go through and accept the Democratic nomination, and he has endorsed Kamala Harris to take his place in this campaign and go on with running against Donald Trump. So it's almost certain that she's going to be the nominee, okay? But she still has to pick a vice president. The DNC is in August, which is it's a little later than the RNC. The RNC's always been earlier. But she will address the Democratic National Convention and reveal her vice presidential pick, who will be the vice president of the United States if Kamala Harris's ticket were to win, which hopefully she does come on top over the alternative. I mean, but yeah. So I'm going to be going through some of the vice presidential suggestions that she has. Her team released a little brief preview of who she's considering as her vice president pick. And it's mostly governors of states, but so the big decision for Miss Harris will be in August. So the first one is Governor Josh Shapiro. He is the newly elected governor of the state of Pennsylvania. He's 51 years old, so he's modestly young, I would say. And he's very popular in the state of Pennsylvania. He won over his Republican opponent, Doug Mastriano, like as it says here, winning 56% of the vote. So he won. He almost got 15% of a victory over his Republican opponent, and this was a huge swing. He heavily improved in every area of the state of Pennsylvania. In places that Biden in 2020 just didn't do as well in. But Biden did win in 2020 over Donald Trump, but it was only a victory of 1%. But Josh Shapiro completely blew it out of the park with, like I said, a near 15% victory. So as this could possibly lock in the state of Pennsylvania, if he were to be on the Harris ticket, if it were to be Harris-Shapiro 2024, I could say this would be Pennsylvania could potentially be a done deal for Harris, and only because of Josh Shapiro, because he is popular. I think this would be a mistake. I don't think, personally, I'm just going to have my intake on here. I don't think that Josh Shapiro should step aside as governor to be on Kamala's ticket, because he was just elected 2 years ago, like I said, and I don't think it'd be very compatible with Pennsylvania voters, because they just elected him to fulfill his term as governor, and it wouldn't really look good on him if he were just to leave after 2 years. Okay, don't be like J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance has done the same thing. J.D. Vance was just elected senator in the state of Ohio, and he's already abandoning his state of Ohio, who elected him to be senator of the state for at least 6 years. And he was just elected in the 2022 midterm elections and was sworn in January of 2023. So he would have, if Vance were to win, he would have only been senator in Ohio for 2 years, which shows that he's very greedy for power. If, and it already does show that, because Ohioans should feel neglected by him based on what he did. This is not somebody who's committed to their state, and it's very unprofessional. It's just crooked. It shows that you have no commitment to your state, to the people that you were elected by to represent them in Congress. But he obviously wants to have more power and obviously get more fame by being the vice president of the United States. But J.D. Vance should have should have came out, and he should have been courageous and told Donald Trump, I was elected senator, so I'm going to stay a senator for at least the rest of my term. And I think that just shows the MAGA Republican Party. I personally don't think Josh Shapiro will be the nominee, and I do not think he should. So let's just take that back. Another consideration that Harris's team has is Senator Mark Kelly. This would be a decent option, though Mark Kelly was elected not too terribly long ago. He was elected for the first time in 2020 and was sworn in 2021. This could be a good pick. I would be down with this pick. I would agree with this pick, and I think it could be beneficial for her and her campaign, and the anti-Trump movement. I think it would give her a strong base and a boost in the state of Arizona, which is where he's from. He is very popular in the state of Arizona. He won the state by 5% in 2022, the latest midterms, despite he was even losing in some of the polls to his opponent, but he came on top by over 5% or by 5% on the dot in the state of Arizona, and that is absolutely tremendous right there for a Democrat in the state of Arizona. Okay, Arizona, keep in mind, is still a heavily Republican-leaning state for the most part. Okay, this is where John McCain was from. Okay, and just 10 years ago, it went for Romney by like 10% in the national presidential election, and now it is a hotly contested battleground state along with the remaining states. So let's take a look at the battleground states, which brings me to my point. There are currently 6 battleground states and 1 congressional district that are pretty much on the line of being a pure toss-up state. But these are the states that are absolutely critical for each candidate to win, and I'm hoping it's going to be Harris. And I'm hoping she will be able to capture the majority of these electoral votes. So let's just real quick, briefly, before we get back to her other potential running mates, let's just run through a quick scenario. So let's say Kamala Harris wins Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. She automatically wins over Donald Trump. Donald Trump can still win Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia, and he loses because Donald Trump, or his opponent, Kamala Harris, has overtaken the necessary 270 electoral college votes to win. So here's another scenario. Donald Trump wins the state of Pennsylvania, and Kamala Harris wins the state of Arizona. This would put her one over the previous scenario where she is 271 electoral votes. And here is another scenario right here. We say Donald Trump wins the state of Arizona and Kamala Harris pulls off a victory in the state of Georgia. And this bumps it up to 276 electoral votes. So, in my humble opinion, the most crucial states are obviously these 6 states, but the states that we should be focusing on with all of our might, with all of our energy, and we should be engrossed in attempting to win these states, surpassing all else, would be the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona. And I think Michigan and Pennsylvania will be a little easier for Democrats and Kamala Harris. So let's say they're out of... Okay, so what I'm trying to say is I think it would be very smart, and I think it would be very sagacious to pick a vice presidential pick from either one of these states. Arizona with its 11 electoral votes, or Georgia with its 16 electoral votes. And preferably, I think Georgia would be the absolute pick. It would be the best pick. And I'm going to get into my suggestion of who I think the nominee should be. At first, I thought it should be Gavin Newsom, because that'd be a good ticket. But I kind of forgot the fact that Kamala Harris is from the state of California, and so is Governor Gavin Newsom. And if she were to pick him as her vice president, they would lose the 54 electoral votes in California, which are very necessary to win the election, because California is the most populated state and is heavily Democratic state. But yeah, in case you don't know, if a presidential candidate picks their vice presidential candidate from the same state that they are registered in, they automatically lose that state. That state's electoral votes do not count for them if it were to go to them. So that's obviously out of the question. Gavin Newsom should not be the pick because of that. We obviously need California. I mean, because just take that away, and Harris is down significantly. She's only at 222 if she loses this. So that's out of the question. Gavin Newsom is not going to be the pick. But another pick is Governor Gretchen Whitmer. This would be a decent pick. I would highly commend this pick. But at the same time, Michigan, I said before, is one of those easier states. I think it'll be easier for Kamala Harris to win Michigan's 15 electoral votes. In yesterday's video, if you watched it, I just don't know how they can vote for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris, because uh, they were they were complaining that Biden was too old, and now Biden's out of the race. So what's their excuse now? I mean, really. And it all depends on if Kamala Harris exercises her credentials and contrasts them to Senator Vance and Donald Trump. And I want her to very much display uh, the and manifest the record of the Biden-Harris administration. And I want her to portray their credentials they've passed and everything they've gotten accomplished in just 3.5 years. But they alleviated COVID-19 when they first took office. I mean, you saw a massive descent of cases, and vaccine enrollment came out, which COVID-19 was a raging pandemic. The time they took office, jobs lost during that period of time were recovered. Um, and now we have a surplus of new ones. We have like 15 million new jobs since President Biden and Kamala Harris have taken office. And I really think Kamala Harris and whoever her vice presidential pick is really needs to go on the counterattack, because MAGA Republicans want to run that talking point question saying, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And the fact-based answer to that is yes. We were living our lives in fear in 2020. Okay, everybody who lived during that time knows that. I was afraid to go to school in 2020. I lived my life in fear. We are doing significantly, abundantly, profusely better today than we were in 2020. Um, we now have the highest stock market ever, the highest record of the stock market, the Dow Jones, the S&P 500. They're all record-breaking high. We are creating clean energy jobs like never before, ever. And we are on track to achieve our long-anticipated goal of cutting oil emissions in half by 2050. We've had the biggest gun control reform legislation in American history ever. But what does Donald Trump have to run? Donald Trump has to run his deeply unpopular agenda and his deeply unpopular Project 2025, which strips Americans of every last human right and will give complete concentrated power to Donald Trump himself if he were to elect it. I mean, these issues that Donald Trump is running on is simply not popular with the generic voters. Kamala Harris is contradicts that. It is very different. Kamala Harris can run on abortion rights. Kamala Harris can run on the progress that they've done. They can run on the PACT Act, the Chips and Science Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the American Rescue Plan. These vital accomplishments that have been uh, uh, enacted during their term. And I really think it's very, very important and critical for her to uh, emphasize that during her campaign. So Gretchen Whitmer would be an all right pick, but I kind of got off topic there. But I think Michigan is a little easier uh, than Georgia or Arizona. Like I said, it should be somebody from Georgia or Arizona. Which brings me to my not the next one, but here's Andy Beshear. Okay, Andy Beshear I think would be a very horrible pick for Kamala Harris. Not only because it would hurt him, he was just reelected as governor of the state of Kentucky, which is a deeply, deeply steadfast, hardcore Republican state. And if he's able to get elected in Kentucky, I wouldn't milk it and try to and be Kamala Harris's vice president. So I think Andy Beshear best stay out of this one because he is very respected by Kentucky. And Kentucky's not a battleground state. Even if Kamala Harris does uh, pick Andy Beshear, Kentucky's not going to be competitive at all. It is a very, very, very conservative state and has been for quite some time now. And Andy Beshear, frankly, is the only Democrat himself that can even come close in the state of Kentucky. So I think this would be bad. This would hurt Harris and would hurt Andy Beshear himself if this were to pick. So I highly advise Kamala Harris not to pick Andy Beshear because, like I said, it's a hardcore Republican state. It's not going to gain her any ground by picking him. It's not going to do anything. It might narrow up the margins in these southern states by a little tiny bit, but it's not going to flip any of them, and it's just going to be pointless, fruitless, and a waste of time. Next up is J.B. Pritzker. He is the 59-year-old governor of the state of Illinois. I don't think he's a good pick either because Illinois is a solid Democratic state. I don't think that will have any influence on there. I really do like J.B. Pritzker. He is a good governor, but I think it'd be very, very what's the word? I keep having these stumps and I don't know the word for it. I think it'd be very audacious for this to happen, and I don't think that's a good pick. Gavin Newsom, we've already been over that. She can't pick him unless she wants to lose California. But here is my recommendation. Right here, baby. Jon Ossoff. Jon Ossoff or Raphael Warnock. I was narrowing it down to them. Mark Kelly is a good pick too. I would like Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly would be a good option to pick as her vice presidential pick as well. But Georgia has more electoral votes, and like I said, in this scenario, she wins handedly by getting the state of Georgia, and that's assuming that she gets Michigan and Pennsylvania, which I personally think she has the advantage in over Donald Trump because these states are pretty anti-Trump, and the only reason why they didn't want Biden to run, as previously mentioned, is because of his old age. But who's the old one now? Okay, Donald Trump is the old one now. Donald Trump is 80 years old, and he's running against a 60-year-old. Kamala Harris. That is a 20-year difference. So yeah, I think they're going to go for the younger candidate. But Georgia, I think, is much more competitive than it was before when Joe Biden was in the race. She is African American. She is black. So I think it will hopefully. I'm really hoping that it will mobilize some of the African American voters because African Americans helped Biden get over the top in 2020. And if we just get that same number in 2020, if we just take that number, we can even get a little bit less than that. We win the entire election by getting the state of Georgia. Georgia is very crucial, and we are kind of neglecting Georgia. We are saying, okay, Georgia's out of reach now. Georgia is not out of reach. Georgia is one of the most pivotal states, and people aren't even focusing on Georgia. That will be the biggest mistake of this campaign if Democrats do not get out the vote in the state of Georgia. That will be a huge, grave mistake because Georgia is still winnable. We can win Georgia. We just won Georgia last year. Warnock won Georgia by 3% over his Republican opponent who was Trump endorsed, and Warnock was Biden endorsed. And keep in mind, these polls have said, this poll in Georgia in 2022 have said that Walker, the Republican, was expected to win, like highly. The polls had Walker up by like 4%, 3%. But guess who came on top? Raphael Warnock, the Democrat, did. And it was by 3% too. That's a damn good margin right there. So I think Georgia, picking a vice president from Georgia would be a very, very smart pick. Very, very smart pick. And if we want to win this election, we can't take time for granted. We got to get our things together. We got to deliver a strong and uh, fervent DNC speech. We got to get every Democrat to come and speak for Kamala Harris, and we need to show them how united we are as a party. Because this is one thing I forgot to mention. Kamala Harris literally. Hold on. Let me throw it up here. Okay. This is good. This is good news. This should be exciting news too. I posted it yesterday. So it should be here. Yes. I put this on here. Sorry if this may dismay Republicans, but Kamala Harris literally got the Democratic Party behind her in about 4 hours. The entire Democratic Party. I mean, people who called for Biden to step down have immediately endorsed her after her being speculated to be the Democratic nominee. And I'm going to pull up this post from Midas Touch. Oh, right here. It just popped up. Kamala Harris has raised in the last 24 hours $81 million. This is huge, or as Donald Trump likes to say, huge. This is huge. Okay? This is huge right here. This is something that nobody's seen coming. And I donated to her yesterday. I donated $25 to her campaign yesterday, as I posted on here. Let's get this pulled up here. Right here. I donated $25 to her campaign to get things started, and my grandmother had just donated $25 also. She said, I text her that I contributed to Kamala Harris's campaign, and she said, I'm going to match you. So she donated another $25 out of her money. Here's my profile picture, by the way. I'm really energetic about this. This is our opportunity to have the first woman president as well. But yeah, this is a good start. And Donald Trump should be scared. Donald Trump should be very scared. And this is another thing that Joe Biden did not have, that Kamala does have. She has the ability to confront Donald Trump. She can confront him. She's not going to be easy on him, okay? She's not going to go light on him. She's going to drag him across the stage if and when they debate. When the debate is between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. She is going to go to Donald Trump's throat. She's going to go right at Donald Trump's throat during the debate in front of everybody. And Donald Trump is just going to sit there. But Joe Biden was easy on Donald Trump. He was easygoing. He was kind of mellow. You're not going to see that with Kamala Harris, okay? She's going to go all in, just like she did with Mike Pence. Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking, is what she told him when he decided to interrupt her. She's going to confront him beyond the universe and back. It's going to be quite a magnificent obstacle to see, and I cannot wait for it. Actually. But because after all, the preeminent problem voters had with Biden is that he's too old and nothing else. I mean, they didn't seem to have a problem with him. Swing voters didn't seem to have a problem with the president, besides the fact that he's 81 years old. Even though he was literally only 4 years older than Donald Trump. Donald Trump's old too. Both of them are old. But for some reason, voters overly thought Biden was old, and they didn't so much think Donald Trump was old, even though, like I said, they're 4 years apart. But we've got someone who's very avid and who's not afraid to throw Donald Trump under the bus. She's going to attack him on COVID. She's going to attack his record as president. She's going to attack him on the fact that he added $9 trillion in debt during his short 4-year term. She's going to attack him on overturning Roe v. Wade relentlessly. She is going to attack him on that. And hopefully that will energize and galvanize female voters in this election as well. So, I personally, like I said, I hope she picks John Ossoff. I think that'd be a pretty damn good pick. And here's his approval ratings, by the way. He's doing pretty good. This was just his January, but I can't find the approval rating that I found, but he was really approved of in this state. So either him or Raphael Warnock would be a good pick, but I'd say John Ossoff would be the best pick. Okay, John Ossoff has been kind of quiet since he's been elected. Okay, and he's been very amicable, bipartisan, and trying to get things done for the American people. He's been very mellow and just overall easygoing, and I think it would be a great opportunity for him to partner up with Harris and get out the anti-Trump vote, especially in these Atlanta suburbs. If these two become a team and they team up and become a duo and campaign relentlessly in these metropolitan areas in the Atlanta area, they're going to win the state. And with that, they're going to win the election. That's how it's done. Okay? Like I said, Donald Trump can win all these other states. He can win Nevada with its 6 electoral votes. He can win Arizona with its 11 electoral votes. He can win Wisconsin with its 10 electoral votes. He can even win Nebraska's 2nd district with its 1 electoral vote, though I think it'll be highly unlikely. But Kamala Harris would still win in that scenario anyways. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you would think would be the most successful and sufficient vice presidential pick, and who do you think she should pick? I can see Harris Ossoff 2024. That's what I'm hoping for. That is what I am praying for, because that ticket, I think has a good chance against Donald Trump and JD Vance. That's our top priority. We've got to defeat Donald Trump. We've got to defeat him. He is detrimental and dangerous for the sagacity of our country, for the well-being of our country, for the freedom of our country. He got rid of Roe v. Wade. He's bragging about it. He's boasting about it. And he's trying to go further. He's trying to take workers' rights away. He's trying to shut down legitimate news organizations. He's trying to do all of this insane, batshit crazy stuff in his Project 2025 plan, which his administration has literally planned and schemed out. And Donald Trump, of course, acts like he is not acknowledging any of it and knows nothing about it when he clearly does. He's the one who got behind it in the first place and got it all together. And I'm hopeful, and I'm praying to God. And in yesterday's post, I explained that I've gotten closer to God in the last year. I'm very close with God. I've been reading Bible verses lately, and I've been reading things and prayers for difficult times, and I've really expanded and enlarged and ascended my relationship with God. And I think with the help of God, I think we can defeat Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is the anti-God. I think he's the antichrist. To be honest with you, and I'm not joking. This is not meant to be a parody or satire. Donald Trump matches every single implication of the Antichrist. You can read the Bible. You can look up signs of being the Antichrist, and Donald Trump matches every single one. And also, they said he'll be a false prophet. Notice how so many people worship Donald Trump. They write his name on their cars. In my small rural Republican town, I see these people, these rednecks, writing Trump on their car. I mean, this is a guy who is worship, who is worshipped by his supporters. His supporters are very, very staunch, and there's no convincing them otherwise. They're. I'm not talking about the swing voters. I'm not talking about the people, but they have a chronic obsession with Donald Trump. And it's nugatory trying to break them up from Donald Trump. We need to focus on those swing voters is what we need to do. And I don't think God's going to let Donald Trump win. I don't think he's going to. I think with the help of God, our country is going to prevail, and we are going to elect Kamala Harris as the first female president in the United States history. And we are going to continue the progress that President Biden has made over these 4 years. Biden has been a very, very underrated president. I have said this time and time again. Joe Biden is the most underrated president we have ever had in American history, period. And he gets so much shit. And watch the comment section down below in this video prove my point that Biden is the most underrated president. People give him shit all the time. And frankly, he's done good for his age. He has good intentions. But this journey is not over. This journey is far from over. We are still in the fight to save democracy, and save our nation. Frankly, it's common sense versus fascism is what this election is about. It really is. But I see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love you guys, and enjoy your week and your Monday, the remaining parts of your Monday. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Wyatt Tomlin out.